This is Michael Kornbluth, your host for the Do It All Dad Year podcast, Dad Friendly Entertainment for you and me. This is episode 5, My Boys. I will be talking about the origin stories behind my two sons that I grow closer to every day. But first, we're going to start off with some jokes. My impersonation of merger talk between Dr. Dre and Eminem. Hey, Slim. Microsoft paid $3.7 billion for LinkedIn. Word! LinkedIn is lamer than ever, yo. What's really funny about Eminem is that when you take a break from smoking the ganja, his voice sounds like a gimp who hasn't hit puberty who's about to blow. You probably hear that right now. That's the fire alarm that's in my household. It's very sensitive. It's so sensitive, it goes off like every time you read it, like tweets from Ann Coulter. So I'm gonna keep on plowing forward anyway. So this is my impersonation of Louis C.K. hosting the Oscars next year. I won't jerk you around. I still jerk off to Sarah Silverman. Jewish MILF searches come up empty on mountainamuff.com. Sorry. Do you feel better about yourselves now, you degenerate animals? I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but for the crime of touching himself, Louis C.K. all of his comedy specials are now taken down from Netflix and HBO. So at this point, I'm thinking it's just a matter of time before the Rocky statue in Philly is taken down because it promotes white supremacy, knowing that Balboa ends up whipping Clubber Lang's ass in Rocky 3. So I gave up drinking beer this winter because I got embarrassed from spending so much time hungover, recycling, living reminders of my lushiness for 5 hours at a time as Rocky marathons pass me by. This is a memo to Colin Kaepernick. Your new BFF, Linda Sarsour, promotes genital mutilation on women who don't convert to Islam. So posing in pictures with her is like wearing a mutilated clit on your fro, bro. Am I the only one who thinks Colin Kaepernick is sporting a fake news fro? I've never seen a biracial afro that big. Slash from Guns N' Roses gave it a shot, but it was a total flop. And can we stop calling Trump the Antichrist? In the Bible Part 2, Jesus returns to defeat him. So have some faith in the Jesus comeback story, will you, people? Facebook, they're in the news for selling all of their private data to corporations and the deep state. Of course, Zitface Zuckerberg lied all about this in the past, naturally. And I've said this forever. Facebook has made baby boomers the laziest grandparent generation of all time. It's not even a contest. For example, my parents, baby boomer grandparents, they can't even dress up for a Skype call with their grandchildren. It was a total horror show. My parents are banned from Skype all because of this awful first outing. I remember like it was yesterday. Like I said, they couldn't even dress up for it. And my parents are retired in Scottsdale, Arizona. My dad is sporting the same pair of ashy tennis slacks from '86. My mom's hair is all disheveled, as if she's been up, tossing and turning, trying to keep her eyes open, up all night with Maddow. Her shitty Dunkin' Donuts coffee breath was fogging up the computer screen as we spoke. Total disaster. And it's true. Facebook has made baby boomers the laziest grandparent generation of all time. It's not even a contest. Liking photos is their idea of lifting a finger. And the worst part is that they have to act all like emotionally retarded and use emojis as a fill-in to overcompensate for their lack of colorful personalities, and FaceTime with their grandchildren as a whole is reduced to screenshots on their smartphones. Tremendous legacy, by the way. Tremendous legacy. Forever Zit Zuck. Hope you get arrested for insider trading. My new book pitch for Lena Dunham. By Curious George, a graphic novel series for hipster spawn reared on Lou Reed records. I had a little tip with the wife over this today when she said, Facebook is the reason Trump beat Hillary. Really? Facebook's the reason Trump beat Hillary? Hammer time cankles? I thought it was because Huma Liquor Breath failed to sell 64 million branded racist Americans on why baby boomer mom knows best. How do I explain to my daughter how Bill Cosby got off scot-free from 4 decades of rape? What do I say? Jerry Seinfeld is a shitty judge of character too? Jerry Seinfeld, not too long ago, he sold some of his Porsches to charity. I just hope that some of those proceeds went to Larry's kids. I love Larry David. I wrote a Curb Your Enthusiasm spec script called The Passion of Schmendel ages ago. I'm 41. I was like 24. And this is just a side note here, a break from the jokes. My father was visiting, and it was a really cool visit. I took him out. I was living in Sherman Oaks at the time. I was getting into karaoke, my first year stand-up, and I recognized the importance of getting more comfortable on stage. And back during my bar mitzvah years, there's a video of me playing a very mean, nasty, inflatable air guitar to Fallen Angel by Poison. So it was just a matter of time before there was a bigger manifestation of that. So anyway, I would rock Teenage Wasteland, Bob O'Reilly, same song. I get into the windmill and the kick. And I used to go to the same place called The Barrel. It was in Sherman Oaks. It was in the Valley. To go with my good friend Jason Lesner, who's still out there. He's got 2 kids now. And I would get J&B on the rocks. I would get 2 of them. They were fantastic. I read that was Rodney's drink, so I was always enamored with Rodney. And so I took my father there, and my father introduced me, his greatest legacies to me. I always give him a hard time for not teaching me anything, but for what it's worth, he did expose me to the band's Last Waltz. Now, what is The Last Waltz, Millennium Musketeers? It's only the greatest musical rock and roll documentary of all time. Directed by Martin Scorsese, who also was involved in Woodstock as far as directing it. And you have the band, okay? So he's about for Bob Dylan, and there's referred to as the band. So you have Eric Clapton, you have Neil Young, you have Van the Man, that being Van Morrison, Millennium Musketeers. You have Joni Mitchell, you have Muddy Waters, and Bob Dylan performing at the end. He sings Forever Young, and it's unbelievable. So my dad did introduce me to that, The Last Waltz. So I was able to, and they have this one song called The Wait. There have been endless covers of it. Aretha Franklin, The Queen of Soul, being one example that comes to mind. Listeners should check out. So I was able to sing in front of my dad. I do recall some weltering of tears. And I guess it's really appropriate for me to be mentioning this out of the blue because this episode is titled My Boys, and I am his firstborn. And that was a beautiful moment. And I never would have had that moment if he never exposed me to that music and if we never had that bond over it. So that was really special. And then afterwards, we went to the Peninsula Hotel, and we grabbed a drink. And usually he gets tense around me drinking because I'll be honest, especially if I drink the bourbon, there's an edge, as my father likes to say, that always comes out. And he's right. I mean, fathers do know their sons pretty well. And my father's always been correct about that. However, just a message that I'm throwing out there. I did not go to the Peninsula Hotel for the intent of networking, but we got into a conversation with this guy and these girls next to us. My father, I definitely have my gift of gab from my dad. Mine's evolved to a different level, but he's no slouch. They didn't call him the Rainmaker for nothing, and he was a distinguished member of the House of Soul at Lake Forest, which were all black guys, so that's a big deal. So anyway, from the Bronx, DeWitt Clinton alum to be exact, Tracy Morgan, Patty Chayefsky, bunch of big shots. Basically, everyone that rules Hollywood, Hollywood, music business, at some point or another was some sort of Jew, Irish, Italian that emanated from the Bronx or Brooklyn. And that's a source of pride for me. That makes me happy. Because they were like an amalgam of like everything put together. Like that scrappy hustleness, Jimmy Iovine, all those guys. I love that fact. Now, I don't love the fact that you have pedophiles that run rampant in Hollywood, but that's a different story altogether. Not really going to celebrate them, obviously. So that night, I had a conversation with this lawyer, and he had a professional reader. And that professional reader was able to read my Curb Your Enthusiasm, my Passion of Schmendel. And he got back to me immediately. He was giving me feedback, was very important to him. And he's like, listen. And I actually had some other stuff too. Around the time, Marshall Mathers, Eminem was really big. And I wrote this pilot called Triple Threat about this like white, like Jewish, like basketball player. And it had a little darker tone. He's like, listen, yeah, it's fine, everything. But my reader said, you got something with the comedy. So stick with that. Like that. So, and I don't forget it. I mean, I had no relationship with him. And that was really nice. Of course, this is 13 years later, 3 kids later, and I'm doing a podcast to get my voice out there to try to make that elusive, sustainable break where I could start delivering on all the promises that I've been making for my wife forever, who has always believed in me. I know that she has her doubts now, but that's only because she's ready for things to happen, and I can't blame her. So I was talking about Curb Your Enthusiasm, and last summer I did these recruitment videos for my recruitment staffing agency, stand-up staffer, been talent hooking since Y2K. Did a bunch of commercials with my daughter, which were wonderful, such as, Daddy, what's a mentor? A mentor is someone that points out your flaws so you can become the best version of you. And then my daughter says, well, does that mean mommy's your mentor? And I said, why is that? And my daughter says, because she always points out your flaws. How so? For example, like, how you're too loud, selfish, and annoying. I got it, kid. I don't need another mini mommy clone in my life right now. Thank you very much. So Richard Lewis ended up reading those. I'm an idiot. He ended up watching some of the videos. I'll never forget the response I got back from Richard Lewis. It was really cool. I thought it was very funny. His response to these videos was, after we started following each other on Twitter, after I sent a lot of compliments his way. A lot of people don't know the story. David Brenner, who's a good friend of Richard Lewis, was really his backer, and the biggest backer you could really ever ask for, because he got to a point, and I could totally relate with Richard Lewis bouncing around from job to job, feeling like he'd been fired more than a Palestinian slingshot, and him saying, Dave, what's bothering me? I just want to focus on comedy. I just want to perform. It's like, I just want to be a comedian. He goes, well, what's it going to take for you to feel like a comedian? And I think he threw out like $5,000. And then he cut him a check $5,000, which allowed him to quit his job and just focus on comedy. He goes, now you're a comedian. Great story, right? So, after the fact, for Richard Lewis to eventually, who's always been encouraged from the get-go, to all of a sudden be like treating me like a semi-equal that's not just some schmuck in a headset was a beautiful thing. I understand when my father was visiting that he couldn't get that excited about me sharing a new direct message from Richard Lewis, because in essence, that's a poor reflection on him, knowing that like Richard Lewis, who's a complete stranger, is showing more interest in my comedic development than my father. When that first reach out from Richard Lewis, when he got back to me on Twitter, was Croton Falls, oh my God. Basically meaning, what is your game plan exactly? You're in the sticks of northern Westchester. Do you really expect to, get noticed sampling jokes at the local apple cider bar down the block at Harvest Moon? Something to that effect. So, and I understand, my father's old school. He's like, okay, yeah, it's great that these comedic heroes of yours are showing interest in you, but are they giving you referrals for jobs? No, so I don't give a fuck. So I get it. I really do. So let's do a couple more jokes here, and then I want to start talking about my boys in some more detail. So I was talking about Louis C.K. before. So this is my sexual harassment solution. My sexual harassment solution for corporate America is for companies to create safe spaces for jerking off. Right? I mean, I think it makes 100% sense. And then you don't have to have like the unfortunate situation where security all of a sudden is like yanking you from your legs from the bathroom stall, banging your head against the wall a couple of times away at the door as security starts singing, "You don't come around here no more," doing their best Tom Petty homage, obviously. It's just a suggestion. This is my impersonation of Chris Matthews under sexual distress. Eating out Mad Out counts as your lunch break, babe. Robert Mueller. How's this guy not been fired more than a Palestinian slingshot already? You can't fire Robert Mueller from his imaginary investigation. You can't deny the pension for an FBI agent who tried to impeach a president by perpetuating the same fairy tale. I'm referring to McCabe. Even worse, my ex-comedy heroes bought into this intellect-impaled loser hysteria. And unfortunately, Richard Lewis is included. Growing up, I wish LeVar Ball was my coach dad because he made me feel like a big baller inside, throwing spin-the-bottle house parties for just me and stuck up Jenny from the block. 15 minutes into the party, he's barking at Jenny, saying, "The Yahoo bottle doesn't spin itself, bitch." I'm getting fired up for a open call stand-up comedy audition for the famed Apollo Theater this next Saturday, in case you're wondering. And Ashley Judd, can Ashley Judd stop acting like an actual victim of rape? Ooh, you declined to watch Harvey Hairclumps Weinstein shower himself down in his 5-star suite at the Four Seasons. Also, last time I checked, Ashley Judd came from country music royalty. So, in Kentucky. So, don't act as if you've never judged a fat pig at the county fair before. My delivery there was beautiful. I'm going to pat myself on the shoulder for that one. My mom is from Kentucky. Growing up from Jefferson, to be exact. One time, I'll never forget it. We're having dinner. My mom says, "Son, Kentucky is known for 2 things. Horses and pretty women." I said, "Mom, keep your sundress on." Before you tell me Dad's hung like Seabiscuit. Clearance rack equals grandma's heart not being in it again. I love it when my wife blames stranger anxiety on my newborn son Samuel, one of my boys. I love it when she blames stranger anxiety on my mother-in-law for why he starts like crying hysterically. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, stranger anxiety? Well, for starters, her stupid forced Ukrainian talk isn't doing her any favors. So Chelsea Clinton used $3 million from the Clinton Haitian Relief Fund to pay for her wedding. At least she's not ugly on the outside anymore. That's sexist. But she's not even ugly anymore. Plus, I think Alyssa Milano is a divisive Twitter twat too. For what it's worth. So I finally got around to sending out some thank you letters for gifts given to my son. And I'm grateful for the fact that he received some. I'll be honest. All these thank you letters were from my parents' friends. And they were not from my own. Yeah, bud? In the middle of recording a podcast. Are you coming here to tell me the dinner's ready? Yeah. Okay. Well, tell Mom she's going to have to wait 10 minutes, all right? Okay. All right? I love you. That's my beautiful, considerate, thoughtful son, Archer USA. His full name is Arthur Morrison Kornbluth. Is that a momentous, kick-ass name or what? Definitely further proof of my headline hooking prowess. Getting that Social Security card in the mail, real heavy metal high. Something to look forward to for all you aspiring dual dads out there. So, and I love calling him Morrison just to piss off my dad. Morrison, not very Jewish. So how was he born? Arthur. So we had Matilda, and after Matilda, who wasn't planned. My wife hates it when I admit this. Although my wife says, I've sacrificed. Hey, babe, you act like an aspiring comedian in his late 20s, 20 kids ever. I'm 41 now. So my daughter just turned 7. You guys could do the math. But with Arthur, I'll never forget, I met with my father. I think he was visiting for it was my birthday. And he got very condescending, and he goes, well, for the record, I hope you're not planning on having another child, because I don't plan on supporting it. So literally later that night, I pulverized my wife's vagina and impregnated her with Arthur Morrison Kornbluth. So my son was literally born in the pure spirit of FU parental rebellion. That's the origin story for Archer USA, who I also call Flipper Feet, Fancy Feet, Nature Boy. We had this nice moment. We went to a place called Kids U. It's like an awesome action adventure indoor amusement park of sorts. It's got bouncy castles, all these monkey bars. The place is fantastic. So my daughter, she sees these pine cones. First of all, she spots a really tiny one. She goes, Daddy, I've never seen a pine cone so tiny. This in Pleasantville in Westchester. And then she sees a bigger one. She's like, oh, Daddy, this is what the pine cone becomes. And then Arthur once... Oh, and then Matilda wanted to bring them inside the kids' university. And Arthur goes, but nature doesn't belong inside. And he's got blonde hair, blue eyes. That's why I call him the All-American Dream, because he looks like a prettier Mickey Mantle. So Nature Boy. Woo! That's my boy. I love him with all my hard times infinity. So that's how Archer was born. And so how was Samuel born? So Samuel, my other origin story, this is called My Boys. So this is how life works. I'm thinking, I got 2 children, I have everything under control. And then I go to a wedding, literally the first weekend away, without having to look after the kids in 4 years. My in-laws that came through. I'm up at a wedding in Buffalo. A friend of mine from high school was getting married. And we had a hotel room. My wife's telling me about, trusting her intuitiveness, or I don't even remember asking about the pill. I just thought that there was a level of trust. But it doesn't make a difference, because the moment she told me that she was pregnant, it wasn't even a matter of saying, well, let's get rid of it, because, my other 2 children have just been provided endless joy and wonder, and have brought me closer to God than ever before. And also, I'm thinking, you know what? A third, that will definitely increase the power edge we'll have over both grandparents on both sides, because they only had 2 each. So, F it. It was meant to be. We still have enough room, so let's make that happen. And that's what happens with Samuel. Samuel Teddy Kornbluth. Teddy Roosevelt was actually inaugurated in Buffalo, which I did not know about. And what a great president, right? Was a big conservationist, very green-minded. All the national parks are because of him. He ensured all those, child labor safety laws, went after monopolies, was a writer, a fighter, a poet, a Renaissance man, a New York badass extraordinaire. So there we go. Matt Damon, was going to move his family to Australia. That's from where my wife is from. So the game plan was he was going to move his family to Australia because he's fed up with Trump and his Bourne Identity, a second banana to Ben Affleck. Then he got cold feet, like when he had the chance to throw his weight around to stop Harvey Hairclumps Weinstein from raping more women. I like Matt Damon better when he just stuck to bashing Obama, talking about how disappointed he was in him. So, every parent's wish, from what I've realized, after having 2 sons and a daughter, is less time cleaning up after your children. And of course, not yakking in front of them for mixing so many IPAs and Adderall again on a semi-empty stomach. So, Do It All Dad Your podcast, dad-friendly entertainment for you and me. My boys, there will be a part 2 to this podcast. Right now, we're in the middle of a snowstorm. We're about to participate in a Luau celebration in honor of the snowstorm. We're going to be listening to Endless Summer by the Beach Boys, so we could perpetuate a ocean calm feeling of warmness throughout the evening, and we plan on having a great time. I'll be able to report about it later. But Do It All Dead Your podcast, working remote, can make our kids great again. Going to be performing at the Apollo Theater this Saturday. Can't wait to tell you how much I destroy. Appreciate all of your interest. Spread the love. Promote the word. Do It All Dad Your podcast. Dad-friendly entertainment for you and me. Talk to you soon.